President Trump and the press unleashing some of their harshest language yet against each other. Joining us now is the second most famous person in his family, Mike Huckabee, a former Arkansas governor and presidential candidate and a Fox News contributor. Welcome. So the thrust of the media coverage over the New York Times unnamed senior official trashing the president is that this person is a coward who should have just resigned. And even many liberals are saying that. Given that this person is talking about administration officials actively undermining the president, why shouldn't the Times have published this?
Well, I think they shouldn't have, because to do so gives some type of credibility to a person who hasn't got the guts to stand up and say, here I am. Howie, if you run for office, you put your name on the ballot. If you're going to try to undermine the people who do have the guts to run for office, then have the guts to tell us who you are so we can evaluate and hold you accountable for your views. If you really think the country is in trouble, stand up and say so. This guy is, I think, a gutless coward, or girl, we don't know.
Yeah.
And I thought it was sleazy for him to say the things he did, because we don't know what level of government. He could be a fourth-tier person in some Montana federal office. We don't know.
Took 33 years to find out who Deep Throat was, so
exactly.
I don't think it'll take it that long this time. So the president then comes out and says that Jeff Sessions, that the Justice Department should investigate this secret source. On what grounds? What's the criminal offense? May have been political betrayal, as I said earlier. It may have been stupidity. It's certainly a firing offense.
Yeah.
Criminal investigation?
It depends. Is this person also telling things that he or she knows of national security to the New York Times? We don't know. The point is, what we do know
is... That's not what was published, just to be clear.
No, but I think what the president is saying is it's serious. Let's just leave it in the general way. It's serious, and it is serious for someone who gets a paycheck from the President Trump administration to betray the trust of that. So give up your paycheck. Go out on the street.
Say whatever you want.
Say whatever you want. You have free speech, but you don't have freedom to do it with somebody else paying you salary.
So that account and the Bob Woodward book and other stories have painted a portrait of top aides who, some of whom say they believe in the president, but they're working to restrain him from what they see as some of his worst impulses. At some point, shouldn't the public conclude that there's something here, that there is some truth to these journalistic accounts?
Well, not necessarily. So let's look at those accounts. What are they saying? That Donald Trump can be vulgar. Okay, we know that. That Donald Trump can be vain. I think we know that. That Donald Trump can be volatile. What a shock. We know all those things anyway. We knew it during the campaign. But here's what...
the election.
He wasn't elected to be the nicest guy in Washington, D.C. He was elected to drain the swamp and to change the economy. He's done both. I personally think that a lot of people are extremely happy with the results they're getting from Donald Trump. Let's look at it this way. Howard, he's like a doctor that comes into the room. He's rude to the family, perhaps. He's not got the best bedside manner, but by golly, he's going to save the patient's life. Had you rather have him or a guy that comes in, he's the nicest guy in the world, but all his patients die? You
know, Governor, I covered both of your presidential campaigns. I've known you for a long time. You're not an enemy of the American people guy. Your daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, is not an enemy of the American people person. Do you wish the president wouldn't use that level of rhetoric against the media?
Well, he's qualified it on many occasions.
Yeah,
but
he said 80% of the media. That was his comment to Fox and Friends. 80% of the media fake news.
I think the point is, from his perspective, when 90% of all of the coverage about him is negative, how else should he feel? I really can't blame him, because...
He can feel that it's unfair.
Yes, it is.
He can feel that he doesn't get a fair shake compared to other presidents. But again, I draw the line of enemy. I want to make sure that I get to President Obama, because he broke a sort of a self-imposed silence, came out and gave a speech harshly critical of his successor, and he had this to say about Fox.
I complained plenty about Fox News. But you never heard me threaten to shut them down or call them enemies of the people.
Your thoughts?
That's not true. He went after James Rosen and James Rosen's parents. He went after the AP and wiretapped them, for heaven's sakes.
I was harshly critical of that.
I mean,
anti-press actions.
That was just patently false, what he just said. And in addition, his administration went after conservative, pro-life, and pro-Israel groups routinely through the IRS and the DOJ. So for him to say this sanctimonious, we never did anything like that. And Howard, I'm sure you remember there was a time in which he was going to make sure that Fox News didn't get the same level of access. And to their credit, the other White House correspondents came around and supported him.
Right. But I assume you don't have a problem with the former president speaking out.
No, I think he has every right to do that. I think that's what politicians do.
So let's close on this. Is it hard for officials in the Trump administration, including your daughter, to work in an environment where so many officials are leaking against each other, leaking against the president. I mean, that can't be denied. This is the leakiest White House I've ever seen.
It's pretty rough, and I hope that they can get to the bottom of it because it's not helpful. I think what's amazing, you know, President Obama talked about the miracles. I'll tell you a miracle. The miracle is that President Trump is getting done a lot of things in spite of he has so many knives coming after him, some of them in the back. You expect them from the front. You don't expect them from the back, and I think you have to give him some credit for that.
A colorful metaphor on which to close the segment. Mike Huckabee, thanks very much.
Always a pleasure, Howard.
Great
Thank
to
you.
see you here in Washington.